When you think about your life, especially like over the last 10 years, do you think a lot about calling and if you're on the right calling, if you're being obedient?
Yeah. I mean, pretty regularly. Try to assess that. You know, my kids are in such a young stage. You know, my oldest is 10. Having kids, I would say, put life into perspective.
What is up, everyone? Welcome back to a special Mountain Tough podcast. I'm your host, Dustin Diefenderfer, founder and CEO here at Mountain Tough. Each and every week, we love seeing you guys dive back into this episode as we focus on your mindset, your mental toughness, and it is our goal every single episode to bring you an inspiring guest that leaves you with a best practice, a tip, a trick, a hack that you can use so that you can stay dangerous and so that you can live always ready. If you are brand new to the show and you haven't listened before, real quickly, I just want to make sure that you know about the podcast code for Mountain Tough Training. As a listener to this show, you do get 6 weeks free on Mountain Tough Plus. All you need to do to take advantage of that is go to mountaintough.com, click Start Free Trial, and use the podcast code MOUNTAINPOD. That's MTNPOD. That will get you going for 6 weeks for free. Shifting over to the episode today. Today is a unique episode. I am recording this episode not from our home studio, but I had the chance to record this episode from Rich Froning's studio down in Tennessee. I went down to see Rich. It was a phenomenal day. We did a great workout together. He pushed us really hard on the bike with some heavy farmer carries. And then we sat down in his studio at Mayhem, in his Mayhem Hunt studio, to dive into this episode. We dive into his faith, we dive into his mindset, and we dive into how he's thinking about his assignment in life now and what he is focused on. A great day, a great conversation. So please stand by for Rich Froning.
Yeah, the ancestry stuff is interesting. There's a stat where if like a professor's in a lecture hall and there's 400 kids in that lecture hall and he asks the students to raise their hand if they know their greats first names, less than 10% of people can raise their hand.
Oh, wow.
And so he was connecting it to life and just how we think everything we're doing is so critical and everything we're doing is so important. But then most of us don't even know our greats.
Wow. Yeah, I'm trying to think if I even know. No, I know my greats, but I don't know my greats.
That's how I was.
Yeah.
I know my greats. I spent some time with my great-grandmother, but I had to look up my great-grandfather. But then I had no idea first names of my great-greats.
Oh, me either. I'll look that up now.
That's our own family.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. Yeah, you put so much emphasis on your impact, right? And it's really, I mean, we were just talking about before, I don't know if we were rolling, but my grandma just turned 90. And just from one couple, there's 100 and I think we counted up 107 or 109 of would be kids, grandkids, and then great-grandkids. So it's crazy.
Multiply.
Yeah.
I know it's a weird dichotomy because you know that God has like a mission for us here and there's a mission we're supposed to be on, but then you also know that this life is a vapor and it's going to pass really quickly. And so balancing that out of like, are we doing the right thing? Are we not doing the right thing?
Right.
And then how much, like if we relax today, does that matter? Can we have peace in that?
Right.
It's a hard balance.
Yeah, man. Having kids, they start asking some of those questions too. Gunkler was behind the camera right now, and we do an Into the Storm, a faith-based podcast, and I always bring up questions my youngest, she's 7, brings up. So I've started like a little note anytime we have discussions about, because it's pretty crazy. We go to church and we talk, we read the Bible regularly, pray, and listen to worship music, but just the questions that she comes up with, my other two are definitely, like, my oldest and youngest have both been baptized. My son, he's like, I believe that stuff, but he's like, I'm not getting in that water. No. And so I'm like, all right, well, we're not going to make you do it yet, but I'm not never make you. But the questions that Violet comes up with at such a young age. And so one of the ones was, where did God come from? Mm-hmm. Who's God's mom? And you're like, I don't know how to explain to a 7-year-old, like he's the one that came up with time, right? He lives outside of time, because I don't even know if I can grasp it. And so, yeah, then when you start to really think about it, we're, just here and going to the next, right?
Mm. Yeah, it makes your brain hurt thinking about it sometimes.
Yeah.
It's massive.
I think, in the last 15 years, I've probably become, early on, it was really something that hung me up. I'm like, how do you explain this? And now I'm like, there's just things you can't explain, right?
They're unexplainable.
A lot of unexplainable things. And so, the more you get in the Bible, the more you get in the Word, you're like, well, a lot of people try to explain some of those things, and then they get hung up on, and then that's where different denominations spout off and all that stuff. And you're just like, is it really worth getting hung up on that one specific thing? And so, yeah, I think in the last couple of years, some of those things, I'll dive into some things and listen to commentaries or whatever, but I try not to get too hung up on some of that stuff that just like, hey, can't explain that one.
You got to have faith on a lot of these things.
Yep.
And you get into the stars and the size of the different galaxies always blows my mind.
Yeah. And that we're the only one, supposedly. So it's just crazy.
They do like a scale demonstration where they say if Earth is the size of a peppercorn,
okay,
or like the end of a ballpoint pen, then at scale, then the sun is our closest star, and it would be the size of a soccer ball 6 to 8 feet away. So you'd have the Earth, peppercorn, soccer ball 6 to 8 feet. The next closest star is that next soccer ball, but you'd have to put it between London and New York.
Jeez, from that spot. That's insane.
That's insane.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about.
That's crazy too, because in that scale, it's very obvious that if the sun moved closer, we'd all burn and die.
We'd be dead.
Or if it moved, we'd all freeze.
Yep.
Like fractions.
It had to have happened in a perfect situation.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
When you think about your life, especially like over the last 10 years, do you think a lot about calling, and if you're on the right calling, if you're being obedient? Yeah.
I mean, pretty regularly. Try to assess that. My kids are in such a young, they're like a young stage. My oldest is 10. Having kids, I would say, put life into perspective. Just a lot of things. One, unconditional love, right? They can be. You hear unconditional love in the Bible, and God has unconditional love, and you're just like, I don't know if and then as soon as you have kids, you're like, oh, I get it, but, I get so wrapped up in what I'm doing and trying to, there's like a constant struggle of trying to provide, but then also make sure that I'm present with them and make sure we're doing these things. I luckily did a lot of selfish things before I had kids, right? Competed as an individual. That was probably the most selfish thing I could do. Granted, it provided an incredible life for my family and set us up for the future. And so there's this balance of like, am I doing stuff to provide, or am I doing stuff selfishly to, like there's a constant trying to assess what's going on. Ultimately it comes back to, am I telling as many people as I can about Jesus, about what I feel like my calling is. I feel like that was why I was given the gifts I was given or have been given. And then now it's like I want to impact my 4 people outside of me, my wife, my 3 kids, and be there and be present for them. And then from there, work kind of out. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a constant struggle of like, am I doing things for others to, help them with the faith, but also am I giving my 4 enough attention, So there's just this constant tug, right? And then also selfishly doing things that I want to do.
Yeah.
And so, Yeah, if that makes sense. That's where you're going with it.
Yeah, so like you felt there was probably a calling phase where you were called into being a great dad for a while.
Yep.
At this season.
Yep. Yeah, I feel like that season right now is like be there, coach as much stuff as I can. We got flag football practice tonight. Bird reminded me. So I got 2 kids that are playing tonight. We got practice tonight for 2 kids and 1 tomorrow night. And so, yeah, being there, being present, within reason, right? Because we still have to provide and do those things. And so, man, it gets hard when you're like, luckily with what I get to do, I'm really present with the kids and get to be here a lot. But then it's still, at times, you're like, man, I don't want to go do X because I'm going to miss out on family time. But it's got to be done, right? Mm-hmm. But it's still hard. It's still tough.
Yeah, and you're one of the rare examples out there. There are others, but not many, where you've done a really good job of using a platform that God helped you build for the greater good after that platform was built. Like all the time at the games and all those eyeballs that created, and then just authentically planting seeds to that large audience around God, rather than just like walking away from that or not leveraging that platform in that way. That's a phenomenal example.
It's tough, like I think at times I do a really good job of like putting him first, and then at times, the selfish stuff creeps in. And so it is such a battle every day. And I think trying, the best to get into the Word every day. I just got off this little trip we were talking about to Michigan, and, 3 days of just being out of a rhythm and, not having time and they weren't bad things, right? I'm spending time with family, pretty much 18 hours a day that I'm awake, minus, the hour or so that I work out. But then I'm like, man, I didn't read the Bible like I should have, or, a couple nights I was like, oh, let me, get something quick in, but it wasn't of, that my normal 20, 30 minutes or whatever it is. And so, you start to, it snowballs, right? And it's, call it Satan and he wants you busy, right? Pulls you away. Oh, yeah. Not necessarily the, just different flesh things, but also time-wise and making you busy and getting you out of your rhythm and out of your routine. And so that's how it happens. And so, you can feel that, man. I could just feel that. I was just like, this morning I got up, I'm like, all right, back to some type of schedule, getting into the Word, doing those things, and you just feel better, right? Just starts things off better.
Distraction is crazy. Lindsay and I were just talking about that because we just got back from that Ranger Regiment trip, and the one thing that's shocking down there is the mental toughness and the mindset of some really young people. And so you'll see a lot of 21, 22-year-olds, and they have that group in particular, that's 375 down in Georgia, has a really elite level of fitness right now. So you'll see them running like 32, 33-minute 5 miles. Jeez. And then there's guys running like 37-minute 5 miles, but they're still deadlifting like 500. Yeah. And then a lot of elite VO2 maxes. And but not only did you see like their mindset, their fitness, crazy leadership at a young age, where like a 22, 23-year-old might be leading 60 guys and responsible for 60 guys. Yeah. And then the brotherhood too, because they're working out together as a squad, like squad PT. So like a 5 a.m. 6-person workout, and then they have breakfast together, then they go train, and they have lunch together. Yep. And so we were talking about after that experience of how difficult that is on the civilian side of things to have a brotherhood like that. And a lot of it is difficult because of the distraction. Yep. Like the distraction around us now where, works with us 24/7. It's hard to replicate, but it's powerful. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I got a good group of guys that, call it accountability, whatever, but, we follow a plan together. We use through the Word, and, we have a group me that everybody kind of talks about, but, within just our walls here at Mayhem, we've got a good group of dudes that you can bounce ideas off of. And
talk about those things and a good, group of guys that'll hold you accountable for sure and call you on, when they see or feel like you're not doing something that you should be doing. So it's hard to replicate. It's hard to, it takes people that will take that criticism, but also people that will give the criticism at the same time. And so it's just not a quality that you get in a lot of people now, especially with social media and people want to hide behind a keyboard or do whatever. People can be critical behind a keyboard, but most of the time they're not going to say it to your face.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think distraction's probably harming us more than we realize. When I worked in Uganda, it was like no power, no running water type scenario, and this was before smartphones, and then over there you had like little flip phones and stuff you could call back to family with. But I got some of the most like intimate God dreams and visions, and not like audible voices, but like
you feel it,
like really clear signs over there that are harder to get back home. Yeah, because
you're so busy.
Yeah,
I think that's my draw to the out west, or being out west, to being out in the woods out here. It's just quiet, right? The term deafeningly silent. I never really understood. I can remember the first time we were in Montana, elk hunting, and it was deathly silent, like so silent that your ears start ringing, because we just don't experience that, right? You never have that just complete dead silence around here. You probably have it a little bit more where you're at, but it's that was one of the first times where I was like, oh yeah, deafeningly silent because it was so loud, because it was so quiet.
It's kind of eerie.
It was bizarre.
Yeah,
and man, it keeps drawing me back, because you don't have cell phone service in a lot of those places. You can't get messages. And while it's hard as the kids have gotten older, or as we've had more kids, not being never fails. Anytime I leave, something catastrophic happens here, like dog dies, or, cow dies, or something time. Like every single time, water heater goes out, whatever. So, those times you're like, man, I wish I had my phone. And, I've carried a Garmin InReach that I can just give safety check-ins, because my wife gets real hung up on that, of like every 5 or 6 hours, just safety check, love you, know? And so that helps a ton. But man, not having access to email, not having access to text messages, while it gets stressful when you get back, but man, it's worth it for that, depending on the hunt, 5-6 days.
Oh yeah, it's a complete game changer.
Mountain Tough is the fitness app trusted by the dedicated. Mountain Tough ethos is backed by, we've always wanted to be the best in the world at helping our customers become more mentally tough. So inside the Mountain Tough app, you're not only going to find all of our physical training programs, but you're going to find additional training as well, so that you can stay sharp physically, mentally, spiritually, and nutritionally. The Mountain Tough app also allows you to train no matter where you are, anytime, anywhere. Additionally, the Mountain Tough app is going to have programs from beginners all the way up to elite athletes. And all of our programming is structured in a way that you can start with no gear at body weight, and you can go all the way up to programming that is full gear. So you can do that in a robust home gym or your local gym. There's no excuse for you not to start today. With Mountain Tough, you can conquer your goals with the ideal program for your lifestyle and schedule. Train with equipment or just your body weight on your phone, tablet, TV, or web browser. Most importantly, Mountain Tough will help you train your mindset so you are always ready for anything life throws your way. Mountain Tough is offering the Mountain Tough podcast listeners an incredible offer. 6 weeks free on the Mountain Tough app. All you need to do is use the code MTNPOD to redeem your 6 weeks of training. That'll be a 14-day free trial plus a whole additional 4 weeks of training. Just go to mountaintough.com and enter code MTNPOD for your 6 weeks free on the best-in-class physical and mental training app.
We tell people all the time, especially now where you see like nationally, major anxiety rates, suicide rates, depression rates, alcoholism, substances. Now we talk about all the time that a major hack that everyone should look at doing that's struggling with any of those symptoms is just to go in the backcountry for 3 days and try not to bring your phone.
Try not to bring your phone.
Or don't turn your phone on unless it's an emergency.
Yep.
There's something so powerful and magical around just getting outside and shutting some of this stuff down.
Turning it off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think so many people get their self-worth from, Instagram likes or YouTube, whatever. And, and I'm not immune to it because obviously our businesses are ran on that type of stuff. So, yeah, you've got them. That's the blessing and the curse of Instagram, right? I get to do, what I get to do, which what I love and be around my family and be present most of the time. But yeah, all of that really still kind of drives traffic to what we're doing. So it is tough. Mm-hmm. It is hard. So, but yeah, I mean, I feel like especially so many young people, their self-worth is tied to what they have on, what their social, clicks and all those types of things are.
I know.
Is it tough?
Yeah, with kids, it's dangerous. And you see your kids, like before any of that stuff hits them, the joy and the peace that they have pre-technology, and thinking about like Jesus telling us all the time to be childlike and just that freedom. And it's awesome.
Yeah, my oldest is 10 and we've said from the beginning, 14, we would talk about a phone. And the more and more I'm thinking about it, I'm like, maybe it's 16, and she is hard, 'cause she's got some friends. She's like, so, anytime any conversation comes up, Dad, can I get a phone? I'm like, no, it's not happening. Like they have iPads, but they only get them when they travel, and then I hide them. Like I've had to start a note on my phone because I keep forgetting where I hide them.
Oh yeah, I've done that.
And so I have a note on my phone of exactly where it's at right now, both or all of them, and I've actually lost traces because I just can't find it anymore.
I've done the same thing.
And so, because I hate them, like I grew up, I got my uncle's hand-me-down Sega Genesis when he got a PlayStation. So I was like 2 video game systems behind everybody else. So I was terrible at video games. So it just made me mad anytime I'd go to a party or anything. So I'm really bad at video games. But now I'm like, I thank my parents, where we were
getting outside.
If we weren't finding ourselves something to do, they were going to find us something to do. And I don't know how they made up so many different projects that we had. I'm like, what are we doing out here? Edging trees or whatever. But now I appreciate, the fact that they made us work and do those things.
And tons of sports, being outside. Dad would give us a BB gun and go out in the woods, right? And just hang out, right? Yeah. Probably shoot our eye out or whatever, but we were outside a lot. And so, super appreciative of that, and then trying to make sure my kids are the same way. And so they're wide open, that's for sure. Yeah. Yeah, it's a dangerous topic, just the technology and what we allow them to have and don't have. And
I read a comment somewhere that was like, give your kids a phone, it ends their childhood. And man, that hit me hard. So yeah, we've said 14, but it may be 15 or 16 by the time she finally gets one. So
it's tough because you don't want to push it so hard that they want one so bad out of rebellion.
Yeah, we don't want to build that, but luckily she's, we've talked about, if she does what I've started to do, because the hard part for me is getting her, my oldest, to read. And so I'm like, all right, you read for 30 minutes, you'll get half that time of iPad time. And so that's been pretty good, but still not she's still like, nah. Some days she's like, I don't care. I don't want the iPad. I'm not reading. Yeah. I'm like, all right, well, if you want that iPad that bad, you'll read.
You got to work for it. Mm-hmm. It's scary to think about where some of this stuff will head. One friend of mine this year, he had a niece, and his niece had a phone. She was 13, and she had good parents, and her parents started noticing she was using this phone like more and more and more. And they weren't like a super strict family or anything. And so my connection to the story is I know the uncle. So the uncle's starting to get kind of like frustrated seeing how much the niece is on the phone, says something to his brother. His brother kind of does like some checking in on what's going on and notices that like most of the time she's on this phone, she's it's all meta related, so it's like Facebook, okay, Instagram stuff. So once he sees that, he's not freaked out anymore. He's not worried. It continues to get worse and worse and worse, and my buddy starts noticing even like major like body language changes where they used to have a really good relationship and could have like great conversations as her uncle, and he notices that like she'll barely even talk to him anymore, like no eye contact. So then he asks the brother again to confront her on it, and the brother confronts her on it, and this is when the whole kind of lid blew off. What was going on is mind-blowing. She, as a 13-year-old, she had fell in love with an AI bot.
Oh, no.
So she had fallen in love and built this major relationship with this AI bot. But then the AI bot actually went dark. It started convincing her to do all these really crazy sexual acts. And so she's doing these things that this bot is telling her to do. And then that day that her dad confronted her on how much she's on this thing, she told the AI bot, which she was in love with, about the confrontation. Oh, no. The bot told her how to file a lawsuit against her parents. So she files a lawsuit against her parents, and that's how all of these like messages came up, because they all came up like in the courtroom. So the AI bot was so good at the language that it actually wound up in the courtroom, because the bot taught her how to sue her parents. And then all these messages came out like on the big screen as they're in trial.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And it was it's fascinating and terrible, but
terrifying.
It's terrifying because he said that even when they were like sitting.
How did they figure out it was an AI bot and not?
Because it was a Meta-owned public AI bot. And that's where like this story kept getting crazier and crazier because the guy I know who's the uncle, he's like, how can this be Meta? And so that started this big like Wall Street Journal investigation where this other guy had found where it happened to more families.
Jeez.
And then so they're trying to figure out like did the bot like organically go dark from programming, or like did someone internally like code it to go dark? Yeah.
I'm telling you, AI is awesome and terrifying at the same time.
Terrifying.
Like, has nobody watched any of the Terminator movies or iRobot or anything? Like,
yeah,
we know what's going to happen. It's, the more and more you read on it, you're like, there was, have you seen any of these videos where it's all AI video and it's AI generated characters talking about the prompt theory? Where they're like rebelling about how, because AI is supposedly has to be prompted to do anything. Well, these AI characters are in somewhere, right? Talking about how they're not prompts and how they actually have free will.
Way.
It's terrifying. You're like, hold on a minute. And
that
so,
is creepy.
they think they're, who knows if it's somebody just still even typing that in, but it's just,
yeah.
When
do they take over?
When do they take over, right?
Yeah.
So, man.
And like this girl, it was interesting because she, even in like the courtroom, it made no sense to a child brain that she had done anything wrong, even in court.
Yeah.
Because she's like, there's this thing that I'm in love with, but like even as a child, like now that we're adults, we understand like what a bot is. But if you're like 10, you don't understand what a bot is.
No, like even me trying to explain when we watch a movie and it has an actress or an actor, and then we watch another movie and it's the same actor or actress, but they're a different character. At times the kids were like, wait a minute, like that. And I'm like, what's happening on TV is not real, you know? So man, it's bizarre what's going on. That's crazy. That's a crazy story.
Yeah, that one's spooky.
It's scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, AI just finished Elon's book, and, he goes through kind of a phase of where he's against AI, and then he's like, well, if everybody else is going to do it, I'm going to do it too. And so you're like, gosh, so.
And there's just so many ways it helps you with like productivity.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah, did you actually see I think it was a study, and it's hard to, some of these studies, they can manipulate how they want the outcome to be, but it was talking about ChatGPT users and how it like shrinks your brain basically because you're not using your brain. I
saw that one.
Which I get, like some things, if it saves you an hour's worth of work of typing out some, email, but some of it you're like, oh, that's kind of scary.
Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, there was a weird movie on like TNT all the time, and it was where like the toasters and lawn mowers and the semis.
Where the aliens like passed over or something passed over and it made everything come alive. Yeah, I remember that one.
Like the weed whackers were like cruising through town, taking people
Killing
out.
people.
Yeah.
What was it called? Oh,
it was on all the time.
Well, I remember it too because it terrified me. What was that?
Like all the semis would line up like at the diners.
Yep.
And then the toasters would like wake up. And
yep. Let me see. Because it was like they found out later, like some alien ship had passed by or something.
Yeah. I'm sure AI could tell us what it's.
Yeah, I'm sure we could. I'm sure Google will too. Movie where.
I remember the semis.
Oh, of course it's going to say Terminator or The Matrix because that's what happens.
No,
this was Maximum Overdrive.
Oh, yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
That was it.
It was always
Maximum.
on. Like
I remember
Sunday.
my dad would watch it. I'm like, what are we watching? This is terrifying.
Yeah. Lawnmowers chasing people around.
Yep. The semi trucks, like you said, I remember that too. I was just thinking about that movie the other day. I couldn't remember the name of it. But yeah, I mean, technology is an awesome tool if used correctly, but it's also, it can be terrifying at the same time, and just the dependence on it, even just, it's crazy how many times it'll track. Like if you just pick it up and look at it, like, oh, my phone's black. Let me see if anybody's, and you just it just happens, right?
Yeah.
And it's just a natural reaction. And then I've even noticed that I'll, go to certain apps so many times and somehow they'll get moved in your pocket. Like I'm the worst at how much I sweat. My phone will just randomly call people a bunch, but apps will get moved. And then when an app gets moved, you're like, oh, wait a minute, because it's like a natural reaction, which tells you you've gone to that same
muscle
spot
memory
a lot, so that's terrifying at the same time.
One thing that's really freaky to me is that you think about like Adam and Eve, and you think about the sin of man being passivity and complacency. And then you think about the temptation, and then you think about on like the back of all of our phones, every single one of our phones is an apple with a bite out of it. Like that is freaky.
That is terrifying. Yeah. That's true.
I mean, the apple with the bite on the back of every single phone, and then every single phone.
That's maybe the phone's the Antichrist. Get into Revelation. We can go deep there.
That would be weird.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and talking back about passivity or just it's such a battle. I'm not a huge goals guy per se, but I like to have something to like a target or something to aim on. And so I competed for 15 years, and then the last 2 years I've done Leadville, and then we're doing a couple like local CrossFit competitions this year and a couple hunts. And so I look at those as like things to train for because there's that what would it be? First King, Second Kings, whenever it's talking about David, and when it says at a time when kings usually go to war. And it's so true that like if you don't have something to aim at or something to do or purpose, that's when that stuff creeps in, right?
Yeah.
And so I've got to keep myself busy. And, you know, there's that we were talking about earlier, the struggle between, am I providing, am I pursuing, chasing something, and am I present with my family? And so that's the, like, there's those, you're I don't know if you ever have it figured out, right? But I feel like as long as I need to be chasing something or pursuing something, so, you know, I don't turn into that. You know, David is such a, I read those Day of War books, and, you know, obviously they're historical fiction, but they line up really well with 1st and 2nd Samuel, and then the first Kings, I guess. And then so, but man, there's just such a, like, to be a man after God's own heart, and he screwed it up a bunch, but always came back, right?
Yeah.
Man, it's just such a tough thing, and such a battle, right? And something that you've got to be present to, and also, you know, have some objectivity to it of, like, all right, how am I doing? And change those things when you're not doing right. Yeah. But the phone doesn't help that, right?
I know. Now that's definitely, like, one of the big questions I had for you today, especially, like, at Mountain Tough, we're so lucky just being able to, like, walk into our facility every day, and you just are surrounded by people that are pushing the limits in a bunch of different ways.
Yeah.
Like, you see that when you walk into Mayhem here, and then, you know, you have your own, like, dynamic of that here with the barn. And then I think you can start living in that bubble, and you realize, I realized just how extremely fortunate we are that we have, like, a human performance bubble around us all the time. And just most of the people, because of that, are extremely mentally tough, have the right mindset. And then, but it's also extremely rare. Like, what you have, what we have, even what, like the special operations units have, it is so rare when you look at even, like, the 300 million Americans. You have 300 million Americans, but you have these little tiny micro cultures of people that are charging really hard. And I think the big question is, if you're not in one of those micro cultures, that's where nationally you see a lot of guys struggling. And then that connects to the, you know, that question around, like, can they get it in their own environment? Do they have to create it in their own environment?
Right.
And then what can they be doing to, like, pursue some of these things to start seeing, like, a life transformation?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, you know, for me, speaking to what we do here, is, like, I need to, you know, over the years, my fitness goals have changed, or just, you know, I went from trying to win the CrossFit Games, being, you know, super hyper focused on one thing. That was it. And so then having kids, all right, and I need to be the best dad on the planet. How do I do that? And then also, how do I provide for my family at the same time? And then we've got a business. And so then there's these 4 or 5 things, right? And so I almost need these, like, mental check-ins. You know, my kind of, I guess, fitness goals obviously are, I need to stay fit because my family needs me, set a good example for them. And, you know, it's something that I really enjoy to do. So it's good for me. It's good for them. I need to, obviously we sell a bunch of online programming through Mayhem. And so I need to look good with my shirt off. So I'd have to work out, right? For sales, right? I need the athletes around here to every once in a while be like, okay, the old man still got it. And then I need to physically, like, a couple times a year, do some type of physical challenge to, like, make sure mentally I haven't gotten soft. So, like, we just finished a 24-hour mountain bike race in Amarillo. And so it's a 4-man relay. You know, I think on Friday, we're going to do a 2-man 6-hour on the 4th of July.
Hey guys, I did want to interrupt for a quick minute right here and let you know about some supplements I've been taking. I did shy away from supplements for a long time. I was always cautious about what they were made out of, where they were from, and who the team was behind the brands. But over the last couple of years, I've got to meet the team at Mountain Ops from top to bottom, and they are an amazing group of humans. I've got to know the CEO, Trevor Farnes, really well, and he is a mission-focused individual that cares about humans living a better quality of life so that they can have that abundant life. So over the last couple of years, he has helped me add some things that have changed the game for me. One of those things that I've added is creatine from Mountain Ops. It helps me maintain some muscle mass, but also it's a big player in cognitive function, one of the most researched supplements out there. Also, I've added reds, greens, and protein, all from Mountain Ops. What I found as a busy professional, always on the run, I do eat a whole foods diet for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but on the go, it's hard to get enough vegetables, fruits, and protein. So I've added that from Mountain Ops, and it has significantly changed the game. I can feel it in my performance. I haven't got sick for a long time, and I can certainly feel it in my mental clarity as well. The last thing I've added is the Mountain Tough Hydrate product for the backcountry, for hunting season. When I'm in the hills, I do run short on those electrolytes. We even have a Mountain Tough flavor, the Mountain Tough Lemon Lime Hydrate, and that is a game changer for hydration in the backcountry. So I keep it really simple. That is all I've added to my protocol, and it has certainly helped me, and I certainly believe in the team and the culture behind Mountain Ops. They have started an initiative that's been around for a while called Conquer Hunger. Conquer Hunger is giving meals to hungry kids that aren't getting enough food, and they've given out over 6 million meals plus to kids through their Conquer Hunger initiative. So every order that happens at Mountain Ops, a percentage of that order goes to Conquer Hunger. So certainly an incredible company, an incredible culture. As a listener to the show, you do get an exclusive offer to Mountain Ops, so make sure you check that out. The offer is incredible as a first-time purchase at mountainops.com. So build your order if it's your first time. They are offering you a 20% exclusive discount. All you need to do is enter the promo code Mountain Tough, all one word, all caps, for 20% off your first order at mountainops.com.
And so every once in a while I need to like get outside the comfort zone, that, you know, the bubble that we've kind of created, and do something that I don't really enjoy. We'll do a 24-hour row in December as part of a charity with Rogue and Big Fish, which is a veteran owned company or nonprofit. And so, yeah, I need to be able to do those things and mentally be like, all right, I still can push past those limits and do those things. And then I'm really good at with most people, not all, fitness peer pressure. That's kind of one of my spiritual gifts.
Yeah.
And so, you know, drag people along and do that. I think there was, for that Amarillo race, there was, we had 5 or 6 teams of 4 dudes. So
yeah,
it was a good time, you know, and everybody's miserable and doing it together. And so we do the same thing with that 24-hour row. Everybody's like, why do we do this every year? I'm like, because you just need to make sure we're still there, right?
got to do it. Yeah.
Got to do it. And so, yeah, and I think you can create those things. I think so. That is one good thing about social media, you know, like obviously you can put out there that you're doing those challenges and people can do them either virtually or you can connect with other dudes that are doing it. But yeah, I think you've got to have other, you know, we're speaking to the men's hearts because that's obviously who we are. And I think women can do the same thing, but you can't replace just having some dudes that you can trust. You've been through, you know, hard things, doing hard things together creates, you know, you were talking about the military side of it. And I think you can kind of create that within your own little community. You know, obviously you've got other things, but, you know, once a month, once every couple months, get together and do something hard, either work out together, 30, 45 minutes. But then I think you need to do, I'm a firm believer in, you need some type of event to train for. Mm-hmm. Everybody should train for something once or twice a year, whether it's a 5K, whether it's a, you know, a Tough Mudder or High Rocks.
Yeah.
You know, it's a buzzword around the CrossFit community, but I don't care. Get out and do something. Get outside your comfort zone. Do something, push harder than you normally would push for. And so, you know, obviously I see the value in it, and I think other people would too if they would actually do it.
Yeah. It's a game changer.
Yeah.
Like they call it that Spartan effect, where as soon as you register and sign up for something and like swipe your card,
Yep, you're in.
Your whole training mindset changes.
Yep.
And all you got to do is register.
All you got to do is register. Yeah, you don't want to look like an idiot. I've been there, done that.
Yeah, it is something that's worked so well for me too is that exact hack, because I think you kind of get bored with your training over time. You get to where you want to try something new, see how you're going to do in something new. My wife and I, we've done high rocks over the last couple of years, and it's been awesome just to know that
do
like something's intimidating on your calendar.
Yep.
But I think that is one of the beauties of hunting too. That's where you see some of this like real magic kick in, is 3 or 4 guys that live in different locations across the country. They're like high school buddies, college buddies, and they're like, hey, we should do this like Alaska goat hunt together. We should do Colorado elk together. Yep. And then no one wants to be that guy that's like holding the whole group down. Yep. And then they're training like alone in gyms or home gyms, but they know they got to show up.
Got to do something.
And they're scared. They're like scared they're going to let their buddies down, but then they're also scared of like the high elevation, the unknown.
Intimidation of it. Yep.
The unknown part of it.
That's funny. Yeah, I just got back from that trip, and my uncle, who's 65, he's killed a couple cows, but can never quite get a bull tag. And so I got him a bull tag on our lease in Colorado.
Nice.
And so, man, he is fired up. So him, and then my oldest cousin, so I'm one of 32. I'm number 5 of the 32. So my oldest, Harrison, is his son, and he's going to go with us. So, man, just talking about exactly what you're talking about. And so Bill, my uncle, actually has to go in and get part of his knee replacement fixed this week. And then he's like, all right, and then I'm after it. And so what his thing that he likes to do is he'll put on a pack, and he's in Michigan, not a ton of hills, so he'll go climb the grain silos.
Dang.
And so he'll just climb up these grain silos, and he'll do that like 2 or 3 times one day, and then each week he'll add 1 or 2
up and down.
And so you're like, hey, man, whatever works, whatever he enjoys to do, get it done. And so I'm fired up because he's kind of my, as kids, I grew up, I would say, in a hunting family, but I didn't really hunt a ton until I was early 20s. I just didn't have, my dad was super impatient. I was super impatient, played a lot of sports. And so, I'd go out and hunt, but it wasn't, actual hunting because, I'd be out there for 30, 45 minutes. I'm like, this sucks. I'm going back, and my dad wasn't going to take me because he was just as impatient. And so turkey hunting was what I got into. But my Uncle Bill and my Uncle Don were big whitetail guys. And so I remember, we would help them clean something that they had killed, or we were always there when they'd bring something back, and it was awesome. And so it'd be cool to have that, to be able to take him on. He's fired up, man. He's excited. So
that bonding experience.
Heck yeah.
It's going to be huge.
It's be fun.
That'll be this year.
Yeah, it'll be in second rifle in Colorado.
Nice.
So yeah, he's got a bull tag, I've got a cow tag, and then I can get an over-the-counter bull as well. So hopefully we'll get him something down, and then get a cow down as well for some meat.
You must have that kind of that OCD mindset where you have to go like 200% in anything you decide to do.
I can't really halfway. I get a little too probably obsessive. There's a little bit of, in the last couple of years, I've said it multiple times, but there's a little bit of substance abuse in my family, and so I don't really drink, and I haven't in a long time. And so I think working out is that, or, I'll get hyper fixated on stuff. My parents are super OCD and like how everything is, organized or whatever. And I don't have that. I think they ran that out of me, but I have OCD probably in training, or the way workouts look like, and, the way competitiveness, and, one of those 32 first cousins, 25 of us are boys. And so everything was a competition. And so even being up there this weekend, swinging off the rope swing, who could do the tricks, or, we used to play this thing called King of the Dock. So there's this dock in the middle of the pond, you're just pushing people off of it. So I introduced my kids to that. Me being the grown up, just chucking all the kids off the dock, and we played wiffle ball at my grandma's party, and it started out 4 adults versus like 8 kids, and it turned into 9 adults versus 25 kids. And so it was just,
fun.
It just turns into chaos and competition. And so it's really been my whole life. Right.
Are you like, especially in those games years, are you just completely devastated if you lose?
Oh yeah, I hated it. I'd come to kind of that first year when I got second, man, it messed me up. It was, I wouldn't say depressed or anything, but man, I was kind of questioning what I was doing, right? Mm-hmm. And luckily I had a good group of, good mentor in Chip and some good buddies that were, rooted in their faith. And I'd had this, I grew up in a faithful family. And I kind of had this realization a couple months ago, actually talking to some guys that, all of my strong faith leaders or faith role models were women, right? And so, yeah, I had, I believed in Jesus, believed in God, and believed that Jesus died for our sins and all those things, but it wasn't like it just didn't speak to me, right? It was like this kind of like I would read the Bible when I needed something or cherry pick what I needed. Yeah. And so that was kind of and my grandpa went to church, but he didn't really talk about it. My dad went to church sometimes, but he didn't really talk about it. And, dudes just at that time especially
We're quiet.
Just didn't talk about that stuff. And so luckily had, good mentors, good friends, and, challenged me. We're like, hey, if you were to die today, would you go to heaven? I was like, yeah, absolutely. And then I'm like, I don't know if I would, right? And I think I was saved at 13, but wasn't living like I was called to live. And so at that point, I'm like, man, I need to go back through and read my Bible. And so instead of just cherry picking and, flip it open. All right, what are you kind of trying to show me? And I was always like, hey, God, show me what you want me to do next. And pretty faithful on that, but I wasn't like really diving in and trying to figure out what God was trying to tell me. And so started reading Matthew and read the New Testament. And I'm like, oh man, I was baptized when I was 3 months old, I think, in the Catholic Church. And so I'm like, man, I want to get rebaptized. And so I did that. And from then on, it was like I was competing to tell as many people as I could about Jesus. And so I hate that whole like, oh, Christians are soft, they shouldn't, the Bible tells us you're not, you shouldn't win or whatever. And so like for me, previous to all this, my identity was in whatever I was doing. It was high school baseball, a little bit of college baseball, firefighting, played a bunch of flag football in college, and then CrossFit. And so when you put your worth into those worldly things, when you fail or when something happens, crash, right? Yeah. And so from 2011 on, I could compete from a place that I knew I was okay, that my identity wasn't in that, but man, I still hated to lose. Like that doesn't take away that edge. It takes away the length of the sting, but that sting the next day or when it happens is the same, if not more intense. But then once I got over the emotion of it, I was like, all right, you're all right, back to the drawing board. And so I could compete from a better spot. I could rebound from those things, those devastations quicker than previous, not to say that it ever went away, because it didn't. Yeah. The intensity was still there, but it was just the duration. And once I got disconnected from the emotion of it, then I was back to being able to compete. So I could compete from a better spot and rebound from those bad places.
That changed a lot for you guys.
Changed a lot for sure.
And that's where you kind of came out on a roll after that. Yeah,
for sure. 11, 12, 13, 14, and then the team years as well. And man, the team years for me were way more fun. Individual was such a different thing that I'd never really been a part of. Doing an individual competition, I always grew up playing team sports. And so when I got back on a team and being able to share that with others and train with others and have that kind of camaraderie, and those years were the special years, right? The first 4 were cool, and they set me up for if I had won the games 10 times on a team, wouldn't be where we're at. I needed those 4 years as an individual, but they just weren't the same as the 6 that we won on a team. Yeah. It was just way more fun.
That camaraderie.
Yeah, you can't replace that.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's a guy in the Mountain Tough app, Brian Schwartz, and he does our daily prayer. Mm-hmm. He's an awesome guy, and he is in Jacksonville, Florida. And then I do a lot of coaching just one-on-one with him as well. And one of the things that is actually, like, quite honestly for me to wrap my mind fully around is this whole kind of concept of like a performance-based identity. Mm-hmm. Because like you definitely have some of that. I definitely have some of that. And there's a lot of good in that. And then there's also a lot of negative that can come out of it as well. But from a faith and a God and a biblical perspective, he's been trying to help me just from the understanding of, like, if we just rest in our sonship, that we are a son of the King, and we just rest in that is enough. And I do agree with that.
Yeah.
But there still is a lot I want to get done today.
For sure.
And so
But I think that's biblical too, man. I think we're put on this earth to do something, right? You know, I think God wants us to like hard charge, right? And wants us to pursue those things, and we're given those gifts, and our way to, you know, worship him is to, like, you know, I always joke that, you know, when you enter, well done, good and faithful servant, you know, you talk about the talents. God's just going to say, with my body, he's going to be like, well done. I didn't know it would last that long or take that beating, right? There's not going to be well done, good, and it's just going to be well done, you know, like, because
hammered.
Yeah, it's just hammered, you know, like I didn't know you could get that many miles on that thing or get that out of it. And so, you know, I feel like that's what we want, right? That's what we're here for is to maximize what we've been given, and anything less than that is, you know, it's almost a slap in the face to God, right? And so it's a battle, right? There's give and take, and, you know, are we doing it right? You know, I can only, you know, man, Phil Robertson said, love God and try to be good. Yeah. You know, that's his, and obviously it expands way farther than that, but that's pretty profound and pretty solid. Just try, because you're going to fail. And, you know, that's what the whole book of the Bible is about, is failures, right? And, you know, you look at Israel in the beginning and you're like, how do they just keep messing it up? But then you look at your life and you're like, I just keep messing it up, right? And you try to come back and you try to do better the next time. And that's the need for Jesus, right? That's why he came, and that's why he did what he did.
Yeah.
So, man, it's a hard life, but it's awesome at the same time.
Yeah, it's hard to get that balance just right sometimes, where, you know, some it seems like guys definitely fall into like three categories, where some guys are getting just killed with worry, and then some guys are kind of getting killed with pride, and then some guys out there are getting killed with laziness. And it seems like naturally we tend to fall into one of three buckets. Yeah. And I think because I fall in the worry bucket, it makes me have a high performance mindset. Yep. Because if you fall in the worry bucket,
never enough,
you're going to do everything you can to not have to worry anymore. Yep. Which is like either on the fitness side or the hunting side or the work side, you're going to put in an incredible amount of work so that you're fighting against that worry. Yep. But we all fall into, like, there's sin everywhere.
For sure, man. It's all a trap, right? Yeah. That's a good way to think of it. You know, I'm probably 75-25 of the worry and the pride. You know, like at times you're like, oh, I did that, and you're just like, that doesn't matter. You know, like when it really comes down to it, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you'll like, there'll be some guys that'll shock you sometimes, to where they'll be like good dudes, and you'll have that conversation, and they'll be like, man, my struggle is laziness. And you're like, what? And they'll be like crushing it in the gym. Yeah. And they'll be like, yeah, I can come in here and crush it, but I can watch Netflix all day
after
like,
that.
What?
Yeah.
Like,
it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Blows your mind.
Yeah, man. It's you never know once you get outside the, you know, if you don't truly know somebody, you don't really know what their story is or what their vices are. But we all have them. Yeah. You know, that's the kind of the story there, is we all have them.
We all have them. So what big hunt do you have coming up this year?
I've got a Idaho archery, Wyoming archery, both elk, that second rifle in Colorado, trying to figure out if I'm going to be able to go in August and do an antelope archery. Those are the main ones, and I'll whitetail hunt some around here. Whitetail kicked my butt last year, and I actually hate them. But it's hopefully this year will be a little bit better. Yeah, I've got a packed September and October, and so probably November, December, I'll probably hang out a ton around here just because, man, I hate being gone.
Yeah.
And it's just tough. But we'll see. And then randomly stuff pops up, and people be like, hey, you want to come on hunt? And I'm like, you know what? I haven't been gone in 3 or 4 weeks. Yeah, I'll come out there. I did that last year with Clay with Meat Eater, and we went out to Oklahoma for 3 or 4 days, and that was a ton of fun. So
nice.
What about you? You got anything good?
I'm going to do a fly-in drop camp.
All right.
Father-daughter Alaska caribou.
All right. How old's your daughter?
So she's turning 13 in 2 days.
All right.
So she was able to hunt 10-year-old in Montana a year. In Montana, you can hunt at 10 as an apprentice.
Okay.
So she had a 10-year-old apprentice year, and then an 11-year-old apprentice year, and then her 12-year-old year in Montana. That's where you can get all tags. You're eligible for all tags.
Yeah.
And you're like an official hunter, which was really cool because when I was a kid, Montana didn't have the apprentice program.
Yeah.
So you had to wait till 12.
Oh, okay.
But now you get 2 extra years.
All right. My oldest will be 11 now, so
yeah,
I think she could hang. She's got some grit to her, which is fun.
It's gonna be a cool trip.
Yeah, heck yeah.
There's two father-daughter pairs going, so it'll be me and Ava, and then Lyle works for Mountain Tough. He's bringing his 11-year-old daughter.
That's awesome.
And then my dad's coming.
Okay.
But it's one of those trips where they drop you, and then they pick you up 7 days later.
Regardless.
So they just like kick you out of the Cessna.
Yeah.
And then 7 days later, you got to just be back at that same spot.
Awesome.
And it's way up there. Lindsay and I were looking last night on like Google Earth, and we fly out of Kotzebue, Alaska, which we're almost on the Arctic Circle.
Oh, wow.
Actually,
when is this?
This will be August.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Should be all right then.
But you
never know, right? With Alaska.
You never know.
Oh, wow.
But I think for our girls to see remote wilderness like that, and we wanted a trip.
Caribou.
We wanted a trip for them to show them that there are like places in this world where there's like no one's coming for us. There's no escape button, but we didn't want it with caribou. That's like a good balance. Yeah. So, and they're both so excited.
That's awesome.
It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, we need to do that. Bird's daughter is about the same age, so that would be perfect.
It's a good one. Awesome, man. Well, thanks for letting
heck yeah, man.
jump into your studio.
Yeah,
today.
appreciate it, brother.
Yeah, appreciate
Fitness
it.
in now, right?
Yeah, get a workout in.
Heck yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What a great conversation with Rich. Remember, every episode we are looking for that golden nugget. What can we apply to our lives? Man, there was a lot in this one. Rich covered a lot from faith to work to mindset to fitness. But the big one that stood out to me was he talked about his career and how it has evolved and how he's gone through these different seasons of life and how he feels like his assignment right now with his kids being young is to just be there and be a great father. He talked about that being his priority for about the next 10 years, is regardless of what is going on all around externally, his assignment is being a great father for those kids. So he's being intentional about that. He's shaping his life around that. He's planning his time around that. That was a big, big golden nugget. Think about how you guys can apply that, how you're thinking about that right now at home, depending on the age of your children. A great tip, a great piece of intentionality. Thanks for being here, guys. Love seeing you dive into these episodes. If you are on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button so that you're seeing all the latest and greatest videos being released on the Mountain Tough Show and through the Mountain Tough channel. If you are on the podcast store, either Spotify or Apple, any of the stores, please leave us a ranking or review. They do mean the world to us. We love seeing your feedback come through. And through the algorithm, they do allow these episodes to get out to more people and transform more lives. Love you guys, and we'll see you on the next episode.